You are now tuned into First and Locks with Rico's Locks and BK Picks. Here's your host, Rico's Locks.
Welcome back, everybody. Third episode of the First and Locks podcast with your host, Rico's Locks. It's good to be here today alongside my co-host, BK Picks. How you doing, BK?
Another day in paradise, man. We get to talk football. It's a great day.
You said that last episode. I'm just
I always say that. It's always great to talk football, man. Come on.
Hey,
man.
we're how many days away now? What, 5 days away?
5 days away from week 0, 13 days away or something like that from
the
week
real
1.
games. Yeah, I can't wait, man.
Game.
They give us the little appetizer to start, a little taste test, and then they give us the real thing. Yeah, a little appetizer. It kind of pisses me off how they tease us like that, you know. But
if that's an appetizer, it's from freaking Applebee's. I'll tell you that, because these games suck.
Anyways, getting into the podcast today, we're going to go over the SEC, the biggest conference in football, the one that everybody loves the most. Before that, I wanted to break down a little bit how I'm going to go over my stuff for the season. So as y'all know, I have an Instagram page I've had for years, giving out picks, sold picks for years on there. So really what I'm trying to do here is I'm going to give y'all free information. Of course, y'all can get my best reads and all that from the podcast. But as far as when game time comes and you want my whole card and my best reads and everything, like that's something I'm going to be offering separate on a Discord. So if y'all are interested in that, let me know. DM me on Instagram. If y'all have my number, you can hit me up my number too. So yeah, if y'all are interested in that, let me know. It's just something I wanted to offer as well, because, you know, I can't give everything out for free. I got to do, got to make something happen. So that's where I'm going with that. And I'm going to be starting a Discord here soon. BK will probably be in there as well. So looking forward to starting that up once the season gets going. Any thoughts, BK? You going to be in on that too?
Of course. Another thing is on that's going to be huge for the Discord on Saturdays, literally Saturday morning when everybody's sitting there, eating some cereal, watching College Game Day. Me and Rico are already talking about football. I can promise you that.
Picks, you're going to want my picks that morning. I'm telling you, like, you're going to hear me on the podcast talk about it, but lines will change throughout the week. Other things, injuries can happen, like other things throughout the week are going to happen. So if you want all that inside info, one-on-one, coaching throughout the week, that's what I'm here for. If you want the exclusive service. So if y'all are interested in that, like I said, just hit me up on the side. But other than that, let's get into the show. I'm excited for this one. The SEC, the biggest conference in football. Let's get it started, man. We'll go tier by tier this time. I'm not going to do the ranking system. It was a little drug out doing it that way. So we're going to do the tier system this time, starting with the worst tier. BK, start with the worst tier for us. What you got?
Worst tier for us, man. The bottom tier for me, I got Arkansas. I got them at 4-8. Mississippi State 4-8. South Carolina 4-8. And to round out my bottom tier, I have Florida at 5-7. I wanted to note off of Florida first off. The only reason why they're here, they're an extremely talented team, but they have to play literally the most grueling schedule I think I have ever seen in college football.
Dude, that is foul. The games they got to play, like, it's unreal. They could start okay because they got Miami, and then they get a little break after that, get a couple of easier games, but then, dude, they go through the freaking gauntlet after that. We're talking.
What is it? Last 5 weeks. Last 5 weeks, I think it's like Alabama, Florida State's in there, LSU.
Listen, man, we're talking at Tennessee, then you go home to Kentucky. That's a reasonable game. Then you go home versus Georgia, at Texas, LSU at home, Mississippi at home, at Florida State. Good Lord, you're talking ranked matchup after ranked matchup for these boys. Like, that is not going to be easy. I got them losing 4 out of those last 5.
Yeah, so. And I wouldn't be shocked if Billy Napier, unfortunately, after the great recruiting class he put together this past season, I wouldn't be shocked if he's gone. I hate it for guys like DJ Lagway, who's an extremely talented freshman, who I wanted at Clemson. Trust me, I did. He was a Florida kid. He chose Florida. I respect the fact that he wanted to stay home. But, I mean, I wouldn't be shocked if they're halfway through the year and their record isn't that great. I wouldn't be shocked if they throw him out there just to be able to get him some reps.
Right. He is actually rated the top backup in the country.
Yeah.
I saw a stat or a little post on that the other day. But so you don't think Graham Mertz is going to be able to hold it down for too much longer, huh?
It's not even that I don't think Graham can hold it down. I more or less just think that Lagway is such a talent. He gets 4 games anyway and can still retain his freshman status. why not just give them some burn? You understand what I'm saying? Like if
Right,
it's
right.
towards the end of the year and they already know, a bowl's out of the question, or them playing in a even semi decent bowl is way out of the question. Throw the kid out there, let him get some reps. I mean, what better reps than versus LSU, Texas, Florida State? Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Right.
of course, you don't want to ruin a kid, but
right. Because then also at the same time, you don't want the kid to transfer.
exactly.
So that's another big point, and that's the game we play. That's the college game we play in now. You don't get playing time. Oh, I'm leaving. My kid's pissed. I'm leaving. So I'll get more money somewhere else. So that's just the game we play in now. And Mac Brown said it best. It's not the same as it was back in 2015, 20. Like, it's just not. So yeah, that's going to be interesting. Florida did have a decent transfer class.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, it's going to be interesting to see what they can do. But like you said, the schedule is just so tough. I don't see them winning. But what? I have them 6-6 at best, 7-5. Like, it's just not going to be easy for them.
Yeah, I got them at 5-7, still in one of those ranked matchups. I think Miami is going to rock their world in the first game. That's all I got.
Yeah, probably so. Probably so.
Other thing I wanted to note on for the bottom tier, of course, I got to talk about Lil Bro. They're going to struggle like hell, and I'm going to enjoy the heck out of it. I believe Sellers is probably going to be their starter this year. They did get Rocket Sanders in the portal.
Yeah, that was interesting. I saw that from Arkansas. I was like,
I don't understand what it is about SEC guys just going to other SEC schools. Like, I just don't.
With ETN did the same thing. I don't get it.
ETN from Florida to Georgia, Logan Diggs from LSU to Ole Miss, who I'll talk about later some as well. I mean, like, what is up with these guys just jumping to another school like a couple hours down the road? Like, what the world?
You know what we talk? The money talks.
Oh yeah. Especially in the SEC.
Oh yeah, big time. So you have South Carolina. I didn't notice you didn't mention Vanderbilt. Did you mention them? Vanderbilt?
No, they're dead last, but I mean that should be a given.
I was like, hold on, where's Vanderbilt? But when you're talking bottom tier, you got to have Vanderbilt in the conversation. I was like, are they in a different tier that I'm missing here? Okay.
No, they're 16th. I forgot to list them.
They are bringing in that transfer quarterback from New Mexico State, who's actually pretty decent, Diego Paiva, or however you say his name.
Am I tripping, or did they also get the transfer quarterback from Utah?
They did, yes.
That's what I thought.
Nate
I thought
Johnson,
they did.
Yeah. And Nate Johnson are in a QB battle, apparently. But apparently Diego Paiva is looking to be the starter. More experienced guy, because Nate Johnson obviously didn't play. Cam Rising was the quarterback over there. He didn't play much over there. So
he played almost all last year, though. But, I mean, he didn't look great.
Right. Granted, he didn't look great. So, yeah, that's going to be interesting to see. But, yeah, I was wondering why you didn't say Vanderbilt, but that's exactly why. It's because they're the bottom of the bottom. So.
Yeah, they're the bottom of the barrel. It's pretty much given at this point.
Interesting. I think Mississippi State is really going to struggle this year, man. That's the team who I had at the very bottom, actually. Got quarterback Blake Shapen as their transfer quarterback. He's all right. He's not really that good. They don't have that many positions I like coming back. Not a lot of skill positions. The O-line and D-line are looking weak. They got a new head coach as well, first-year head coach. Not sure how that team's going to be this year. I have them like right up there with Vanderbilt, just being terrible.
I have them at 4-8. So
I have them at 3-9 this year. So rough year for Mississippi. Yeah, poop soup for Mississippi State is what I'm thinking. Any more of these bottom tier teams we want to go over? Like you said, we don't want to mention. We're going to do a little different this episode. We don't want to go over every single team. That's just dragging it out too long. So we're just going to go tier by tier here. That pretty much wraps it up. I mean, did you say Kentucky was in that tier for you or no?
Not for me. I just
Who are the teams you said? Who are the teams you said, just so I could touch on it real quick if there's anything else we need to go over?
Bottom tier, I have Florida 5-7, South Carolina 4-8, Mississippi State 4-8, Arkansas 4-8, and Vanderbilt at 2-10.
Okay, I agree with all those at the bottom tier. Okay, we can move on. Florida was being at the top of that bottom tier, which I agree with.
Yeah, for sure.
Which they could honestly be in the next year. That's why I'm kind of struggling with that. But their schedule's so tough that I can see why you have them down there.
They're just a talented team with a terrible schedule. That's pretty much it.
Right, because they do have pieces. That's what I like. Yeah, they do got pieces. Like, that team can be good. They got a lot of returning talent. I mean, that team can be good. It's just the schedule, man. But that schedule, it could make them up for it. They could be ready. You know what I'm saying?
Who
You play those
knows?
tough games, you're ready for them the next weeks. You know what I'm saying? So it could work out, but I don't think so ultimately. So we'll move on. Who do you got for your mid tier?
Mid tier for me, I have starting off in the mid tier. I have Kentucky 6-6, Texas A&M 7-5, Auburn 7-5, Oklahoma 8-4, Missouri 9-3, Alabama 9-3, Tennessee 10-2 to round out the mid tier. And
Interesting.
it's kind of tough for me to put Tennessee, at 10-2 at the mid tier, but I think there is going to be, a skill level gap in between them and your Ole Misses, your Georgias, Texas, people like that.
Right, right. No, I can agree with that as well. As far as it's interesting you said Bama though. People aren't going to agree with that one. Why you say Bama in there at the mid tier, 9-3?
Too many moving parts, man.
Or you
Way
just
too
don't
many
like
moving
Bama?
parts. No, it's not that at all. You know me. I respect Alabama. I respect the hell out of Alabama. I mean, their fan
Right.
base for being one of the best schools ever in football is not ridiculous. So I always have respected Nick Saban as well. But I mean, it's like what I said, man. Moving pieces is what really scares me this year with Alabama. They had a ton of kids transfer out. Kalen DeBoer's new coach now. He brought a whole new staff. It's rough, dude. Like you got to put a lot together, and you can't rely on just Milroe and Haynes to be able to throw it all together and say, "Yep, it's still Alabama football." Of course, I know Nick Saban's going to have his fingerprints still on the Alabama football program as a whole because he's still got an office at school.
Right.
But I don't know, man. I think
I
nine and
agree.
three is a solid first year for them with
Right.
Kalen.
I kind of have questions on the offensive side, not as far as Milroe. You know what you're going to get from him. But
Yeah,
yeah, like you said, I don't know what their receiving room kind of looks a little iffy this year, in my opinion. O-line's looking at their defense is what I think is going to hold them down ultimately, like that always does.
yeah.
Like you said, too many moving pieces, and the new coordinator on the offensive side, I'm not sure about him yet either. So gonna see how that goes with the play calling and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I kind of agree. I think that Bama's a 9-3, 10-2 team though. So I have them at the top of the tier, if you want to call them mid tier there. But that's where I would have them in place of Tennessee because we'll get to Tennessee. I have some questions about them, man. But go ahead.
No, one other thing I wanted to note on Alabama, it doesn't help when you're sitting there speaking about coordinators. Their defensive coordinator got hired and then immediately went to the NFL to go coach with McDonald. Is that his name? Could be slipping, but I know they immediately hired a coach and then he left for the NFL within a month. So then
Right.
they had to replace him again, and it's like you don't have that continuity within a group, especially as big as a group as Alabama's defense, which is something they're going to need to rely on. It's just too many moving pieces, man. That's questionable.
I hear you. I hear you. Any other teams you want to go over here in this mid tier? You said Texas
Missouri,
A&M. You
Missouri.
said
I don't know what to make about Missouri. I know their offense is going to be good, but I really don't know what like. I think their defense, if they're a mid-level defense, they'll be just fine. They'll be a 9-10 win team again and probably playing a New York Six Bowl. But I don't know, man. They're an odd team. They have the best wide receiver in football in Luther Burden. I can promise you that. But
I think this team is going to be sneaky, man. Like this is
yeah.
a team that I just love their head coach. I've always liked
Oh,
Eli Drinkowitz ever since that he was at App State. He brought that program back up to where it's at now. Same with the coach with Liberty. He kind of gives me the same kind of vibe. I just like this coach, man. He's a
him.
energetic young guy. He's a great offensive mind, great defensive mind. I just think that, and he's brought in Nate Noel also from transfer from App State, which I thought was interesting, running back. So their offense is going to be strong, man. That with
Yeah.
Brady Cook at quarterback again. He's like I'm not really too high on Brady Cook. He's
Solid.
he shows games where he's a good quarterback, makes plays, but then there's games that you're like, is this dude like really that good? Like,
Yeah.
his numbers don't really show like that crazy of numbers either. So he's a decent quarterback. He's gonna be the question to me. How far can he take this team with that offense? Their defense is decent, got a decent defensive line, decent linebacker room. So I think they could be a solid team. It's just how far can this offense led by Brady Cook take them is my question.
Yeah.
I think they have the pieces though to do
One
so,
one thing I
to
wanted to
do
know
good things.
No, you're good. My fault. My fault. When I wanted to sit there and talk about Eli, because you were sitting there, talking about how you love Eli Drinkowitz.
Yeah, he's a good coach.
He's almost a carbon copy to me of Kyle Whittingham. Like
Yeah.
they are two of the same type of bred coaches where they keep the same staff. They have the same go-to things to do each and every season, and they just build. I mean, not many coaching staff stay together like those two schools.
Right.
I want to say it's been over close to 8 years now that the same staff has been at Missouri with no one leaving. So that's huge. They get a lot of transfers doing that. Toriano Pride Jr., number one cornerback in the transfer portal from Clemson, ended up going to Missouri. So they do extremely well with being able to bring in talent within that transfer portal. That's another team that just does really good there because they're like, hey, we couldn't get you, in the first run, but how about now? We can give you a starting spot here. So
Right. Like you said, good transfer class overall. They came in at the number 13 overall transfer portal class. So I mean, like you said, they got that corner from Clemson. Overall, good transfer class. I think this team, like you said, they can be in 10 and they could sneaky be 10-2. I'm thinking 9-3 is where I have them at.
yeah.
What you think? Is that where you had them as well?
Yeah. Yeah. I had him at
9-3.
9-3.
Right. I wouldn't be shocked though if they go 10-2 or
No.
win that game that you're like, whoa, they won that game. I mean, their schedule their schedule to start is easy up until at Texas A&M. Once they get to that 5th game at Texas A&M, then we'll see what this team's made of at that game. They win that game, they'll be 5-0 going at Massachusetts 6-0. So they could start 6-0 realistically.
Yeah.
And then we'll be looking at this team in they'll be in the top 10 for sure. They start 6-0. So interesting to see what we could see from Missouri here. I don't have their win total in front of me. I also want to look at that too, some of those too, while we do this stuff on the podcast. Hold on just a second.
While you're
But
looking
going over
that up,
go ahead and let's go over another team while I look at that real quick. I'm just trying to
yeah,
find a win total for them.
while you were looking that up, man, I wanted to note on Oklahoma. I think their defense is going to be a lot better this year. I think BV's getting it together now. BV takes a lot of, when I say BV, I'm talking about Brent Venables for those that don't know. He was a Clemson defensive coordinator for over a decade. Missed the heck
Dude,
out of him.
he was the man. I ain't gonna lie. Him and Dabo on the sidelines would be
He used
fired
to,
up down there.
hey, he used to kill me how he always wear them zipper shirts and he'd be sitting there the whole dang game. I'm like, bro, you gonna wear that zipper out
Like a little kid.
Yeah.
Playing with damn zipper. Yeah, that shit was funny.
No, but he takes a while to be able to implement his defense. He's been there, 2 years? I think this third year you'll finally see that defense start to grow where he just has an innate ability to be able to rebuild teams that are not known for defense and just giving them a top 10 defense. So I fully expect him to go over there this year and have the defense looking better. Do I think that's going to result in, a lot more wins? Not necessarily. I have them at 8-4. I think they'll be solid. Jackson Arnold's kind of a question mark for me. Got to see it first. You understand?
I've heard a lot of good things about the kid,
Oh, yeah.
but yes, he's a question mark as well. That defense is looking at strong this year based off what I'm reading, man. They got the number 2 linebacker room in the nation this year, based off what I'm reading. Number 2 cornerback room in the nation. Their secondary looks strong this year. It's a question mark on the D-line is the only question mark I have on the defense. But other than that, their defense could be a top defense this year, like you're saying. Offense is the question mark for sure. They do have some decent wide receivers. Number 6 rated wide receiver room in the country. Nick Anderson and Deion Burks transfer from Purdue. Looks to come in and make an instant impact. He has some good numbers over at Purdue. They got that running back, Gavin Sawchuk, as well, who's decent returning running back. So they could be all right on all. It's all up to Jackson Arnold, like we just talked about. What are we going to expect out of him? Like I said, I've heard good things. So I expect this team to be around 8-4, what you had them at.
And for the people that are like Rico and similar that don't necessarily trust the D line, just know BV's defenses run a lot of stunts. So they'll do a lot of stunt where they'll have the D line DN flip over and makes it to where you're off balance if you're a tackle or a guard. So they'll do a lot of that to be able to mask what they would probably be lacking, in star power. So I think
Right.
they'll be all right in the pass rush degree, only because BV mixes in freaking safeties, linebackers, you name it. It's going to be there somehow.
He's a defensive genius, man.
Yeah.
That's why I was kind of surprised he left y'all to be a head coach. I was like, wow.
It was time, man. You know, he coached at OU as an assistant before we got him. And
Right.
so he was already familiar with, Boomer Sooner Nation. So it wasn't a shock to me when that job came open. He was rumored for Virginia a couple of times, but I mean, Tony
Thank
Elliott.
God he didn't go there.
Ooh, Tony Elliott went there. We all know how that went. But I mean, I think it was just time. Clemson's been pretty fine. Having Wes, I've enjoyed having Wes. He's a great defensive coach.
Right.
Totally different personality from BV. He's much more crazy. As crazy as it sounds, he's much more intense, but in different ways. He's a much more get in your face scream type of dude. Like him and Dabo go after it a lot by what I hear.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, hey, you like that, competitiveness especially from a position coach. So
Yeah, I like that throwback style, man. Shit's getting too soft nowadays.
Oh, yeah,
so
for
I like
sure.
that throwback style that get in your face.
Oh, yeah.
That's the style that I learned best from. So I think
Yeah.
that's a good style to have as a coach. Moving
Tough
on,
love.
man. Let's move on. What do we got left from the mid tier? I think that's it, man. As far as mid tier teams, Who else?
Tennessee.
Auburn. You want to talk about Auburn for a second? No. Peyton
I mean,
Thorne over there.
yeah.
I do like Hugh Freeze, man. He's going to be he's a good coach. I think they got a lot of potential coming. I'm seeing good things coming in the future for them.
They're
But
recruiting.
right now recruiting wise, right. Right now I have them still 6-6, 7-5 team, mid tier. So nothing special from Auburn.
No.
Tennessee. Let's talk about Tennessee though. Whenever you're ready.
Yeah. Defensively, I have questions.
That's where I was immediately going to start.
Tennessee.
Go ahead,
Tennessee, their defense the last couple of years has been a very big, like, bend, don't break style of defense. You know what I'm saying? Like, they're very – I'm going to get you into the 20-yard line, but after I get to the 20-yard line, you're going to be a little bit – it's going to be tough. Like, that's how they've been. I don't know if they could continue that. Like, especially with some of these high-powered offenses like Texas, Ole Miss, who's probably going to have the best offense in the country. Besides maybe Ohio State or Oregon.
Right.
And I mean, can they sustain that? Like, I know their schedule is manageable. That's for sure. That's why I have them at 10-2. I believe their schedule is pretty manageable this year. But I don't know, man.
We're gonna learn. Here's what I'm gonna. Sorry to interrupt you, but here's what
fine.
I'm gonna say. Here's what I'm gonna say about this team, and I'm gonna say this about the same team who they're playing. We're gonna find out a lot about this team in week 2. Versus NC State. That's what I was going to say, because I think they could lose that game, man. I really do. Don't sleep on the Wolfpack, bro, in that game. I'm telling you. In Charlotte. Don't sleep on the Wolfpack in Charlotte. It's a mutual site game. Don't sleep on remember I said this. Don't sleep on the Wolfpack in that game, bro. They're going to be underdogs. I'm telling you for sure going to be underdogs. This Tennessee team, man, they're good on offense this year. I agree. But their DBs are looking weak. Their linebackers are looking weak. I don't have any faith in the secondary, man. I'm not going to lie to you. KC Concepcion could have one of those games where he just destroys a team, and that could be one of them. So
for sure. I mean,
I don't know, man. I like to bet underdogs too. That's going to be one I'm definitely looking at week 2 right there, NC State over Tennessee. So I personally have Tennessee losing that game. And then they go to Oklahoma. I don't see that being too easy. I mean, I think they win that game, but I don't see that being too easy. At Arkansas, let me see. I have them losing at Georgia, and then Bama. I have them 9-3. 9-3. Other losses, Georgia and Bama. I'll give them wins on their other games, but I think they slip up to NC State. I think NC State makes a statement in that game. So I got Tennessee 9-3, right next to Bama.
Yeah, I got Tennessee 10-2. I feel they'll probably pull out either Alabama or NC State, one of the two, and they'll be 10-2 at that aspect. I definitely think their offense is worth noting a little bit more. Squirrel White is an absolute dog.
Yeah, I didn't
Their
really talk about the offense, but yeah.
run game is extremely good. They have some massively tall human beings on the O line. I'll put it that way. Just got another one this past weekend. David Sanders, number one O line in the country. I think the number 2 player in the nation
Yeah.
for this next class coming up. Just pulled him in. Huge recruit for them. I don't know what to make of Nico yet. Looked good in the bowl game. I'm not going to even attempt to say his last name.
All right, I'm gonna try it this time, fellas.
All right,
Nico
here we go.
Iamaleva. Nico Iamaleva. Some shit like that. It's close. Don't Joe Biden me this time. Some shit like that.
Put some respect on his name, man. Damn it.
Bro, I couldn't figure it out the first time. I was sitting there like, and I was in under pressure first podcast. I'm sitting there like, I was like, oh fuck it, I'm just gonna give up. But
Hey.
yeah, I think he's gonna be a stud, bro. He's plus 14 in the Heisman odds. I mean, dude, he's gonna be a stud. That
He's
offense,
nice. Don't get me wrong.
yeah, just to touch on that offense real quick, that O-line I got them number 8 rated O-line in the nation. So, I mean, yeah, strong offensive line, definitely a good running back in Dylan Sampson.
Yep.
So I think the offense is going to be good. Like I said, it's the defense I'm worried about. They do have a good D-line, so that could help them out for sure, but teams could pass all over this team, man. I'm a little scared about that. So got Tennessee 9-3. Wouldn't be shocked to see him 10-2, obviously, winning that NC State game. But I'm a dog hunter, so I'm going for the Wolfpack in that game for sure.
Worth
and I
noting,
might even go to it.
Yeah, worth noting as well, though, that their head coach Josh Heupel is also an offensive-minded coach, so that doesn't help things either. On the defensive side of the ball, it's not like they have a defensive-minded coach; they have an offensive-minded coach who's a very, very good one at that. Like, I'll put it that way.
Great.
Probably one of the best quarterback developers in the last 10 years.
That's why I feel so good about Nico being a stud. Like, yeah, that coach, man, he's not gonna let it. He's gonna have the plays right for him. He's not gonna let him struggle. So I agree with you on that. Could definitely be scary on offense.
Top tier.
You didn't say LSU in that mid tier, or are they in your top tier?
Nope. They're in my top tier.
Wow. That's actually shocking. I would have had LSU personally in my mid tier. They could be top tier material, but I personally have them mid tier. So
at what record do you have them at?
I have them at 9-3, 8-4.
Yeah, see, I have them at 10-2, 9-3. That I only put them in the top tier because I feel like their talent being on defense is going to be a lot better than Tennessee's talent that's on defense. And we know LSU's offense is going to be good. Like, that's a given.
Is it though?
Dude, they pour out wide receivers like it's cake work. Like,
do you trust Nussmeier though? Garrett Nussmeier.
No, but I trust Kelly enough to not make it difficult for him.
Okay, fair enough. Sense. That makes sense. Yes, I do agree with that. But
I mean, any coach who can make Ian Book look good for 3 years, I
got
think
questions at running back too, man. Are they going to be able to run the ball? I don't even know if they're going to be able to throw the ball that well. That's why I'm like, I don't know about this LSU team, man. I think they'll be a 9-3. Like I said, 9-3 team is what I have them. But outside of that, they don't have a top transfer class. So they don't bring in a lot of transfer talent. Don't know what to expect there. Like I said,
their recruiting class in 23
and then Nussmeier's got to play. Yeah, and then Nussmeier's got to fill the shadow of Jaden Daniels. I mean, dude, that's not easy. So
yeah,
I don't know, man. I'm not really too high on this LSU team, but I'll let you go ahead.
Yeah, they were the bottom of my top tier. I'll say that much. Like I should have just put them in the mid tier with the same record as Tennessee. Yeah, and just kept them at 10-2 there. Looking back on it, but I mean, honestly, I do think there is a difference between the two because I do trust LSU's defense a little bit more.
Yeah,
I think their D line is going to be really good. But it's tough, man. It's like what we were talking about, before the show, where we were having the conversation, just going back and forth of some of these teams. It's just hard to sit there and map them because, like, you can sit there and look at a Missouri from last season, but in the same extent, is it the same Missouri team from last season? Not to go back over them, but you understand what I'm saying.
Right.
I don't know. Top tier for me, I have LSU, Ole Miss, Texas, Georgia. And that's not in any particular order. If it was in order for me, it would be Texas, Ole Miss, Georgia, LSU.
What interests me about LSU is the first game of the year versus USC.
Yeah.
That's where just like I just talked about with Tennessee, I think we're going to find out a lot what they're made of in this first game,
Are
which
we?
I actually have them winning this first game.
Okay.
So
I don't know, man. Is
see.
USC really that test anymore? Like, are we really scared of Miller Moss and having to, play the freaking
they're
Trojans
playing in Las Vegas too. Interesting. I just know
in the Raider Stadium?
Yeah.
Okay.
On a Sunday too.
On a Sunday.
So it's going to be that one game. It's only going to be one
Yeah.
game. It's going to be that game. So it's going to be interesting. I wonder who they're going to have. Probably LSU as a favorite there.
Did LSU play on a Sunday last year too versus Florida State? I was about to say
Either that or a Monday. Either that or a Monday. It was one of the two. I think it was a
Clemson played on Monday. Clemson played on Monday. I know
then it
that.
was Sunday. Then it was Sunday. Yeah.
That disappointing ass game.
But yeah, I have LSU dropping their losses to Ole Miss, Alabama, and you're not gonna wait. Hold on a second. Yeah, Ole Miss, Alabama, and I either have them losing at Texas A&M or at Florida.
Understandable.
So that's where I have their third loss. Yeah. Right. So that's where I have their third loss at. That was hard for me because other than that, I think they have a pretty winnable schedule.
Yeah.
So I see why you have them 10-2 or whatever you said.
Yeah, that's exactly what I had.
They do have a winnable schedule. Yeah. Moving on. Who else we got in this top tier?
What you want to do? Ole Miss?
Yeah, we can go over Ole Miss. Fuck it.
Ole Miss, I got them at 11-1, 10-2. I think we've talked about it, in the first episode. I think this team is just crazy with talent. I mean, Walter Nolan, defensive line transfer from A&M, impact player. Antoine Juice Wells, South Carolina wide receiver. Juice. Definitely an impact player. Like him a lot this year to just do crazy things for them. Logan Diggs, transfer LSU, who also went to Notre Dame his first 2 years. Back-to-back years of at least 650 rushing yards and at least 5 touchdowns. I think last year he had like 652 and 7 tubs or something like that. Going to be a good running back for them. He's not going to replace Judkins. That's too difficult of a job. But
why did he leave, man?
It makes no sense.
Why did he leave?
It makes no sense. Like, what the world are you going to leave? What are you going to leave at a place where you're going to start? You're going to at least get 20 carries a game.
Win
a couple.
I would have had to win in the title for sure if he stayed.
Yeah,
I still like him to have a chance, but if he would have stayed, man, God.
And then it's like he's just going to go split time with Henderson. It makes no sense. Like I don't get it. But I mean, I do think this team is really, really good. Dart is arguably the best quarterback in football. I mean, you could
that's my guy.
Ewers. Yes, sir. Quinn Ewers, you could argue as well. There's a couple other ones. Shadur Sanders is a dog as well. But I don't know, man. Like, this team, I think, is probably going to be the best Ole Miss team that we've seen in a very long time. Lane Kiffin is going to do ridiculous things with this offense. It's if the defense can hold up. I like their transfers that they got in enough to be able to make that impact, to take the next level on the defense, to be able to compete in those late year games and playoff games and things of that nature. Because I definitely think this is going to be one of those teams that's in that 12-team playoff.
Right. Yeah. I'll touch on Ole Miss real quick. I think this is the year for Ole Miss. This has got to be the year for Ole Miss, man. Jackson Dart coming back. Lane Kiffin, a great offensive mind, the number 1 transfer class in the nation. This has got to be the year for Ole Miss. It's either 11-1 or 12-0 season, or it's a bust, in my opinion. The toughest games are obviously Georgia at home. Can they get over the hump and beat Georgia at home? I think they'd get it done this year at home. At Florida is not easy. Not an easy game. I think they win that game still. At LSU, not an easy game. I think they win that game still. Yeah, I actually have them 11-1, 12-0 potentially. Definitely think they make a run here at the title. Have them winning the SEC plus 800.
You have them winning the SEC?
Winning the SEC plus 800.
Okay.
Give me the Ole Miss Rebels. I'm saying it now. Who's going to take them plus 800? Me. I'm taking them plus 800. That's crazy value. Yes, they lost Judkins. I mean, but still, dude, I just love Jackson Dart, man. He is the best quarterback in the country, in my opinion. Another reason why I have him as my Heisman favorite. He's going to ball out this year. Juice Wells coming in, that big transfer. I mean, dude, they are going to be insane on offense. Even the running back they have now is going to be just as – I mean, he's not Judkins, but he's going to be just as good. I mean, not just as good, sorry, but he's going to be still a beast. They have the number 13 running back room in the country still, so – it's a fall off, but it's not a major fall off is what people are making it to be. And Kiffin's the offensive mind, so he's going to be able to figure out ways to get the ball around either way. So I got Ole Miss winning the SEC this year, beating Texas in the title. Still have that game as my SEC title. So yeah. Ole Miss 11-1 or 12-0 is what I have this year. Very high on them. Yep. Moving on. You want to go over Texas now?
Nah, save them for last, man. Save them for last. The newcomers, save them.
Who we got next then?
Georgia.
Oh, Georgia.
Georgia.
All right. With Georgia, we got head coach Kirby Smart in his 9th year. They bring back 7 on offense, 7 on defense. It's looking like another strong year for Georgia, coming in at the number 1 overall team in the country. What you got here, BK? You got them running the table this year, or you think Georgia's going to slip up and have some L's this year? Because I do.
I do too. I don't think it's the same Georgia we've seen the last 3-4 years. I think they're still extremely talented. Don't get me wrong in that aspect. I'm not trying to act like they've just fallen off of a cliff. But I don't think the defense is as good as it's been in years past. It is got a ton of depth, but I don't know necessarily if the level is there, if you understand what I mean.
Yeah.
Excuse me. I think also on the offense, they're going to have a lot of growing pains with missing Ladd McConkey and Brock Bowers. O-line, they lost a couple pieces as well, even though they have every massive human being that you could think of on their O-line rotation. I think their average O-line height is like 6'7" or some ridiculous crap like that.
That's crazy.
Yeah, I think they'll be good, but it all falls for me on Beck, and I don't trust him. I don't think he's as good as people make him out to be. I think he's a good talent, but I just think he's a solid game manager. I don't think he's that guy that's going to knock your freaking socks off in a game.
Exactly. He doesn't have the game breaking ability like a Jackson Dart, like a Dylan Gabriel. You know what I'm saying? He like you said, he's a good game manager. He makes the right plays, but he doesn't have game breaking ability. I agree. So go ahead.
For me, I got them at 10-2. Their schedule's kind of rough, man. Dude, I'm not gonna lie to you, it's pretty rough. What do they got? Clemson, Alabama, Texas.
And think about it. They're playing road games at Texas, at Ole Miss, at Alabama. Dude, these aren't home games this year.
They're losing one of those. Easy. They're losing one of those. You're either losing in Tuscaloosa, Hotty or freaking Longhorn Nation. I mean,
that's what had me. One of those. And that's what had me this year, because Georgia at home. I mean, Georgia at home is Georgia at home, but on the road, dude, they're just a different team on the road. Take them away from that crowd, man, and put them under some pressure. Yeah, man. I just think Georgia's going to slip up this year. I agree with you. I think one of those 3 games they're going to drop. I actually have them losing at Texas and at Mississippi. Yeah, Ole Miss. I have them losing both of those. So I have them winning at Bama, so I'll give them one of those. And I'm not going to probably get a lot of people liking that one, but I think Georgia's going to slip up this year, man. 10-2 is where I have them this year, and falling short of the title. So,
and it's obscure to sit there and talk about a team like Georgia and saying 10-2 is a bad season.
I know it's crazy.
Some people just need to stop being so spoiled with how teams win. I could speak of this from experience with Clemson, because some of our fans are just absolutely ridiculous. I've talked to you about it many times, where they don't remember when they were happy to win 6-7 games and freaking beat South Carolina. Some people just didn't experience that level of
Right.
mediocrity. So like a 10-2 season and
Like,
saying it's
remember
kind of a
before
failure is
Kirby, they
crazy.
were mid. They were
Yeah.
not a great team at
Rick
all.
Rick would have a couple years here and there, where they would win 9-10 games,
Right.
but like they would never be like stagnant or like consistent at all.
Right,
Like,
they
you know
had
what I
the
mean?
years with Aaron Murray, and then they
Yeah.
had, Matthew Stafford, and they had the good quarterbacks, but they were never over the top good. And they had, Todd Gurley, Keith Marshall, the good running backs, but they were never, they never went to that title game or anything like that. But this year for Georgia, man, they're still going to be a good team. Number 1 rated O-line in the country. They bring in Trevor Etienne, brother of Travis Etienne, transfer from Florida. He's a really good running back. Wide receiver Dominic Lovett's a good wide receiver as well. So, I mean, they got talent still. I mean, don't get me wrong. And they have great, they're great on both sides of the ball as far as line goes. So, definitely can't count them out in the trenches. They're always going to be dogs in the trenches. So, you know what you're going to get from Georgia. It's just, like I said, those tough games on the road is what's going to be the test this year. And can Carson Beck handle the pressure of being on the road in those games? I think he's going to fold, and I think Ole Miss is just going to be too good on offense personally. So, I got Ole Miss and then Texas beating them as well, which Texas we'll get into right now. What we got on Texas?
Hook 'em. What's it called? I got them going 11-1. I think they're going to have a stellar first year in the SEC. They have great returning production. Quinn Ewers, arguably a top 3 quarterback in all college football, probably is going to be either the first or second quarterback taken in next year's draft. Isaiah Bond from Alabama, great transfer piece for them. But I kind of questioned the wide receiver room other than Bond. I think they do have a little bit of some question marks. But one person I wanted to touch on is Ryan Wingo, St. Louis University high school player, number 7 receiver in the country from this past year's class. 5-star, of course. I've been reading a ton where this guy has been popping off. He's been doing extremely well in scrimmages. Did really well in their spring game. I think he had a receiving touchdown in their spring game. Look for him to be able, to jump out and be a first-year player to just give him an impact. I've heard he's got a lot of speed. So, guys like that are going to have to show up because, I mean, their room in the wide receiver department doesn't have a lot of depth. It's kind of questionable, but they do have a lot of good top-end talent. I'll say that.
Right. No, I agree with that. And like you said, Quinn Ewers is a freaking stud, man. He didn't have the greatest numbers last year. I mean, they were good, don't get me wrong, but they're not like eye-popping numbers. I think this year is where he takes off. Like you said, though, the receiving room could be a little questionable. Bond, is he going to go to Bond every time? Like he's going to need another go-to guy other than Bond. Like you said, it could be that tight end. So we'll see. As far as them, though, I have them the same at 11-1. Who did I have their loss to? I either had them 11-1 or 12-0, being the loss either to Georgia or being to Oklahoma.
They play Alabama as well, right?
No, they
avoid
no
Bama this year.
They avoid Bama. They don't play Ole Miss. They don't play LSU. They don't play Tennessee. Like, they don't play a lot of these top tier SEC teams. They're playing Kentucky. Their toughest games are at Texas A&M, home versus Georgia, and at Michigan.
At Texas A&M, I'm gonna tell you right now that could be a shock spot.
That could be.
Yeah, because that rivalry is ugly, dude. Like, literally, A&M will flat out tell people they left the Big 12 to get away from Texas, and now they're having to deal with them again. Yeah, you can bet your ass that Kyle Field is going to go crazy that game.
Oh yeah, facts. I mean, think about it. 11. What if they're 11-0 going into that game? Yeah, imagine how rocking that stadium is going to be. Yeah, for sure. I could see it. I could see him slipping up one of those 3 games: Georgia, Texas A&M, or Oklahoma. I don't see them losing to Michigan. I think they get it done versus Michigan. Yeah,
We'll
I think they
cover
get it.
Michigan. We'll cover Michigan in next week. But yeah, I'm
Michigan fans kill me, man. One year they win the title, the fantasy season of a lifetime, and they're like, "Oh, we're so good. Don't sleep on us this year." I'm like, bro, stop. Your
We're gonna
coach
win
is
the
gone.
Big Ten. No, you're not.
That's besides the point. We'll get to Michigan when we talk about them. It's just funny. Their
Yep.
fans crack me up. Anyways, moving on. That's wrapping up the SEC. Who'd you have winning the title?
I have Texas winning the SEC title this year. I know it's
Over
a lot to
who?
add. Ole Miss.
Over
We have
Ole
the
Miss
same
over
title game.
Texas.
Yeah. We have the same title game, just reversed in who we think is going to win.
What's Texas's value for the SEC? I'm about to check. And
If I
going
had-
back to the over-unders on wins, Missouri was actually 9.5 wins at plus money.
But dude, getting them at that 10 spot is risky.
Right.
Like-
That's why they put it there at that plus money. They're like, are you going to go for it or are you going to take the bait or not? You know damn well they're going to hit 9 wins. You're going to be like, bruh.
No, yeah.
Yeah, plus money at plus 146 for 9.5 wins for Mizzou. We'll go over the win totals real quick for each team. See. Let's just go over quick over under. See
Sure.
what you think. Alabama over under 9.5, plus 116 on the over, minus 140 on the under. What you
I'm
think?
about to say minus 140 on the under, but like that's really ugly either way. Honestly,
Right.
It's just
That could
rough.
land, and it's regular season too. Don't take into account for the bowl games, guys,
Yeah.
because they could go 9-3, right? And then that bet loses and they win the bowl game, but you think it wins. But no, it's regular season games only. So they go 9-3, you're beat. So they would have to go 10-2 for that to cash. I personally like the under. I think they hit 9 wins exactly. So that's going to be sketch there. They could go over though at 10. Arkansas is 4.5 over under for the season, and the over is minus 122, under is plus 100.
Plus 100 on the freaking Give me Arkansas with only 4 wins at plus 100.
I like that. Give me
I
the
like that a
Arkansas
lot.
under there. I agree
like
with
that
that.
a lot.
We could make that a bet potentially. Haven't decided there yet. Auburn is going to be over under 7.5 wins. Wow. Plus 124 for the over, minus 152 for the under.
And that's another team that's like right on the brink there. We had them at 7-5. Both of us had them 7-5. Yeah, dude, that's tough.
It's tough. Yeah, they put it plus money there for a reason because they could win that 8th game. Like they really could win. I wouldn't be shocked if they went 8-4. Like they really could win that 8th game.
Yeah.
But for the sake of what we have, I'm going to go under at the minus 150. I wouldn't bet that because that's horrible value, but I definitely see that probably landing at 7 wins. Florida's is crazy. Wow.
They're 4.5, right?
Right. 4.5 over under for Florida, bro.
4.5.
Minus 152 to the over, plus
Vegas.
124 to the under.
Vegas saw that schedule and said, hell no.
Personally, I like the over. I think they win 5 games. I think they win 6 games. Give me the over 4.5 on Florida. It's not going to be a bet because minus 152 is absolutely disgusting for over 4.5 wins. And I don't want to sit there on the 4th game.
You don't want to sweat that like
right.
crazy.
You don't want to be sitting there with 2 games to go. They got 3 wins. You're like, oh my God, are they going to win 2 more? Oh my God. And their schedule is grueling to end the season. So yeah, you don't want to sweat that. That's an under for me if I was to bet it. Or yeah, probably would be under or over. Sorry, going over. I'm contradicting myself.
You're good.
Moving on. Georgia is over 10.5. Under is 10.5. Over is minus 122. Under is plus 100. Interesting. I think they land right on that 10, so I'm gonna go under with the plus 100.
Yeah, I was about to say.
Crazy saying that for a Georgia team, man. It's crazy saying that, but
you could honestly get through like week 6 with them, and they'd be like, "Oh shit, like this was a bad choice." You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
it's
it's
a bad
bet. They could easily be undefeated. They could easily be undefeated, and you'd be like, "Ah, God, here we go." Like,
yeah, that's not a bet that you want to sweat.
No.
Moving on, Kentucky over under 6.5 wins, same line, minus 122 for the over, plus 100 for the under, 6.5. What would you say there?
You said Kentucky, right?
Kentucky.
Yeah, I have them right at 6-6.
What did I have them at? I think I had them at 7-5. Hold on a second. Give me just a second. Let me scroll to the page where I had them at. I have Kentucky 7-5. So give me the over minus
All right.
122 there. I like Kentucky to win 7 games.
Bet.
LSU over under 9.5 plus 138 for the over 9.5 minus 170 for the under. Wow.
I like the over.
Really?
Yeah, I
Plus
mean 10
money?
and 2. Yeah, 10 and 2 plus money. I mean, I had them at 10 and 2. So I mean, I like them at that plus money spot there. I probably won't take it, but I mean, I don't think it would be a bad lay because I mean, if you think about it, looking at their schedule and how manageable we said it would be, 10 and 2 is not out of the picture. So
Interesting. Yeah, I could see it. It's good value. I wouldn't bet it personally, but
yeah.
I could see it. I think they land right on 9 though, so that's why I wouldn't bet it. Mississippi State. This is crazy line wise. Over unders 4.5, but the over is plus 152. The unders minus 188. Vegas is telling you they're not winning 5 games.
They're not.
That should be easy. I'm not betting that, but
What's the little
that
bro?
should be. Yeah, that's easy. South Carolina is over under 5.5 wins.
I'm
Minus-
definitely go ahead.
Minus 134 to the over, plus 110 to the under.
I'm definitely taking the under.
What did I have them at? Let me check.
I have them at 4 and 8. I think that under is probably a decent one. I'm definitely going to go look at that when we get done.
I had them at. Hold on a second. I'm tripping. All right, there they are. I have them at 4 and 8. Give me the under.
Yeah, that I like that actually.
They got a freshman.
After this.
They got a freshman quarterback, man. A lot of moving pieces. Yeah, they're going to be able to run the ball with Rocket Sanders, but dude, outside of that team, I mean, the schedule's not easy either. I mean, on top of that.
And if they go 4 and 8, don't be shocked when Shane Beamer's on the hot seat.
Yeah, he might be gone here soon.
Yeah,
his dad's Frank Beamer, but sorry, bud, you're not him. So
I like Shane. Don't get me wrong, and I find it hilarious. This is just one of those things I always find like crazy funny when people want to make fun of Dabo, and then freaking South Carolina went and got a Dollar General version of him and Shane Beamer. That's literally what he is. Like,
yeah.
He's just a motivator and a dude that's good at recruiting. Like, that's pretty much it. Like, he's not an X and O guy. Like, he never has been. But anyway, I don't know. I definitely think people like Shane Beamer, Billy Napier, definitely both are probably going to be on the hot seat. Don't really see anybody else out of the SEC though being on that hot seat for the
Right.
For coaches, because I mean Mississippi State's guy is just getting there. I don't think they're going to fire him. Arkansas's coach could be gone though.
Yeah,
and they could replace. I've heard this a lot in this offseason. Arkansas's coach could get fired for their offensive coordinator that they just hired.
Was it Bateman?
Bateman's their coach now, but their offensive coordinator he used to be the head coach at Louisville. Petrino. Yeah.
Oh my God.
That's their offensive coordinator. And I've heard a lot that like they want him to be the head coach, like boosters and people like that, dude. So I wouldn't be shocked if they, kick one out and bring in the other type of deal, but we'll see.
Got you. Moving on to the over-unders. We had Ole Miss is at 9.5. Wow, that's a over for me. That's a
9.5.
I might make that a play.
Yeah. What's the
dude,
line on?
Give me 10 wins. They're definitely winning 10 games on what I have. Minus 110 both ways.
Minus 110 both ways? Oh, yeah, that's a for sure.
Give me Ole Miss over 9.5. I'm taking that for sure. I'm probably going to put 2 units on that myself, along with a little 0.25, 0.5 unit sprinkle on them to win the SEC at plus 800. That's looking good. I like that too. For the value, dude, I mean, plus 800 for 8-1 conference winner for them. I mean, that's there for sure. You can't talk me off the value for that. Moving on for over-under wins, Texas at 10.5, plus 144, minus 178 to the under. Wow. It's tough. Schedule being kind of easy. I lean to the over with the plus 140. I think they win 11 games, go 11-1.
I like them for that.
I wouldn't bet it me personally, but I think they go 11-1 there. Texas A&M's at 8.5, minus 130 for the over, plus 106 for the under. I lean the under. I got the under there. First year for Mike Elko. I think he has some growing pains in year one. I don't really trust Connor Weigman either. Kind of a mid quarterback.
I love Elko, dude. I think he's going to
Elko is a great,
he's going to transform them so fast, dude. Like, especially with the amount of money A&M has, that defense is going to be real nice. And just give them like 2-3 years, they'll be fine.
Okay, and then I agree with you 100%. Elko is a great coach. He brought that Duke program, who was in complete dog water, to a promising future. I mean, dude, they made bowl games, competing with their rivals, which they would never do. So
what they win 9 games, 8 games last year?
What, 8? I think.
I
Yeah,
think they went 8-4,
something like
or
that.
8-5.
They've been a lot better than
game.
And then we got Vanderbilt at the lowest over under in the conference at 2.5 wins, which is crazy disrespectful. But the over's minus 200. Wow, at 2.5, as you would expect for that to be.
I got them at 2-10. So what's the
plus 160 for the under?
I'm not gonna take it, but
I wouldn't bet it, but yeah,
juicy. I mean,
so there's the over-unders for the win totals on the season. As far as the conference winner, like I said, 8-1 odds on Ole Miss. That's what I'm going with the little sprinkle. He likes Texas. They are plus 350. Bama's plus 700. And, of course, Georgia's plus 170. That's just disgusting, though. There is no value in that, in my opinion. No. Plus 170. If you bet that,
you're a conference winner. No.
Yeah. There's no value. You bet conference winners for value. And Ole Miss 100%. Middle of the season, you're going to see them at plus 400 or lower. And I'm going to be like sitting here on the podcast like I told you to take them plus 800.
And see, so, even Texas at 340 is like getting to that point where it's like
it's not even great. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, especially for a conference winner, like you want that value, that heavy value, because you don't want to wait all freaking season. And then they don't even make the conference title game, and then you're looking like an idiot.
Yeah, that's why a lot of people, it was funny because a lot of people gave me a lot of shit for that Liberty pick. But it's like, bro, I don't see anybody else winning that conference besides them. If you can point out another team that you think's going to win and we can talk about it, sure. But I don't see a single team in that conference that is going to compete with Liberty.
And don't come in here talking about no Western Kentucky, because we already went over them in that episode, and I don't want to hear that stupid shit.
Bro, I had people commenting on my TikTok video, Western Kentucky's a sleeper. How? And they gave me no reasons how. So of course it always goes like that. The trolls will talk and then they don't give you your reason. So moving on, we're going to go into the Homer report now. BK, what you got to say about your Tigers, man? Let you talk
Tigers,
about
man. Had a good scrimmage this past weekend. Did have some issues, though. Shelton Lewis banged up, cornerback, seen after the game, walking in a boot. Haven't got word yet from my insiders, more or less, on the severity of the injury. I've also heard that Lucas, who's also another corner, he is also having some hamstring issues, I believe is what it was. So, cornerback room, a little banged up. We still got some time, 2 weeks or so. I hope those guys can, get it together and be ready, because we definitely need them, especially for week 1. Still just doing really good on offensive side of the ball with the progression, what I've heard from Cade. I've heard he's done a big leap from last year to this year. I'm ready to see it. I'm tired of hearing about it. Ready to see it. I heard Wesco had a really good scrimmage. TJ Moore was a little quiet by what I heard, but I'm still high on him. You know me.
You can only get but so much from a scrimmage too, and
for sure, for sure. So. But it was just the first big one of the year, so a lot of eyes on it. I know a lot of my buddies were at it, so yeah, man, I'm hyped for it. Ready for the season. Ready to go see Georgia week 1. We'll see what happens.
Do they cover?
Yes,
is the question.
Yes,
DK's telling you they cover, and I like the cover too. I'm not gonna lie. 14 points, I think, is gonna be too many, but we'll get to that when week 1 comes. We'll go over all the week 1 games once that comes. Just to let y'all know, coming up for the podcast, we're gonna go over the Big Ten coming up here soon, right before week 1 starts. And then moving forward from that, we're going to break down some of the small conferences too. But other than that, we're going to start going more over picks and what we're going to be on, from week 1, we already told you about week 0. I mean, there's 4 games. I'm personally on Georgia Tech. That line is slowly dropping too. Remember when we first talked about that game 2 weeks ago, or 2-3 weeks ago? They were at plus 12.5. Now they're all the way down to 10.5. I'm seeing on FanDuel. That line's slowly dropping, man. I told you that line was going to drop too. I didn't think it was going to keep going up. So it looks like some money's coming in on Georgia Tech. I think, like I said, I think they get the cover here. But if it keeps dropping, if it gets under that 10 number or gets to that 10 number, I will be a little suspect of taking them there. So I'm going to wait to see where that line goes by Saturday. But I'm still liking it for right now.
Weather conditions will also play a part in that game.
Yeah, 100%.
Being that it's in Ireland, it's probably going to rain.
Yeah, 100%. But as far as home report from my Tar Heels, I mean, I ain't got too much to say, to be honest. I mean, we're going to be a pretty average team this year. I mean, I know what to expect out of Amarion Hampton. He's going to be an absolute dog at running back. He's going to run over people. He's just like Javonte Williams when we had him. Same kind of running back. We got Caleb Hood as well, he's more of an outside back. He still punishes down the hill too as well, but he's a little faster on the outside. He could be a good running back as well. And then we also have that transfer running back. What's his name? Danny Barlow or something like that from South Carolina. He just came in as well. He looks to be.
He can't be good.
Of course, I knew you were going to say that. I knew you were going to say that. So, I mean, we got a very deep running back room this year. Receivers looking pretty strong as well.
Who are y'all going to play at quarterback?
Max Johnson's looking like the day one starter. Like I said, I think it's going to depend, man. I don't know, man. I'm not too high on him still. I watched some of his film, played with him in the game, obviously. I like Connor Harrell. I really do. I think he's going to be the starter throughout the season. Obviously, if he struggles, he's going to step in there. What I saw from the bowl game, that kid can play. So Connor Harrell could very well come in there midseason and take over that role depending on how we're playing. But we do have an easy schedule to start the year. So maybe we get a mix-up of both of the quarterbacks in the early games is what I'm thinking we're going to see. Because there are some easy games to start besides Minnesota. They're going to go with Johnson in that game one. But
didn't y'all do that with Drake his first year? I'm not tripping to think that he did not start right off the jump.
I want to say, yeah, you're right.
I want to say they
can't
split.
even remember off the top of my head, though, dude.
I feel it.
Too long ago. Yeah, so many games since then. So,
heck yeah, man.
Other than that, as far as our receiver, we got a very good tight end room, like I discussed before with Nesbitt and Copenhaver, and then Johnson coming in from Texas A&M to match up with Johnson at quarterback. So that could be an interesting duo that not many are talking about, but they have good chemistry over there already. This offense could be sneaky good for us. I'm pretty high on it, but the defense is once again the scare at secondary. We did bring in a transfer from NC State who's a corner. He's pretty good. I don't even remember his name off the top of my head, to be honest, but he's a decent corner I read. We got Huzzy still back there, Elijah Huzzy. He's decent. But outside of that, man, it's going to be interesting and very sketchy to see how badly teams pass on us again, which is always the worry with us. So, yeah, that's all I got really for UNC. You know what to expect. So, yeah, man.
A lot of offense, no defense.
Yeah, a lot of offense, no defense. A lot of the same
stuff. That felt
stuff.
like an obituary, man. I don't even follow. I'm learning college football from you guys, but that felt like you were sort of reluctantly reading an obituary.
I'm scared, man. It's like I know we can be good, but like I know what I'm going to get every year with this head coach. It's Mac Brown. There's no defense, all offense.
Should have stayed his ass retired. I've said it so many times. He should have stayed his ass retired and stayed his ass in the Big 12 because he don't play no defense. Like,
bro, we went we have all these top quarterbacks, but have won nothing with them. Like, we have no defenses to help them. Like,
nope.
We have all these powerful offenses, all these stud running backs that have been drafted, and we've had good pieces, but we've done nothing with it because we have had no defense every single year.
At least sorry to cut you off, but at least you're betting with your mind as opposed to your heart, like half the trolls in the comments.
Right. Now let me go over that real quick. So yeah, a couple of years ago when I first started this stuff, man, I would always go bet UNC. Man, I've learned the hard way. Like, that's why now I'm so focused more than ever because I'm not locked in on my team. I'm going over all these teams, and you can't bet with your heart when you're doing this shit because you really can pay for it bad. And I've done it. So been there, done that, learned from experience. And anyone who's been with me in the past and seen my picks, they know that I don't bet with my heart anymore. So yeah, looking to move forward from that, man. Can't bet with your heart in this industry. That's for sure. It'll definitely lead you places you don't want to be. Closing out the show, man, just talk about, recap of everything we went over. Like I said, I like the Ole Miss to win the SEC plus 800. He likes Texas plus 350. Went over every team pretty much for the most part. Didn't want to break down every single ranking. That was just too much. Too much of the show last time. So made it a little simpler for y'all this time, tier by tier, and what we expect. Like I said, next episode, we're going to be going over the Big Ten and what we think is going to be the champion over there, which we already kind of discussed earlier in the podcast, in the first podcast, and what we can expect from week 1. And you got anything else for us, BK?
It's all about DePaul, baby.
Oh, my God. And I'm already sick of talking about them. I'm not going to lie to you, man. I've heard nothing but Clemson. And my friends, it's funny, my friends and the people in the comments are like, do you really think Clemson, man? Like, you don't seem like you believe Clemson. And low key, I don't. Like, I don't want that. Like, I low key don't believe in Clemson. Like, I really don't. Like,
because you don't want to, because you know I'll never shut up.
Exactly. I'm scared. I'm scared because I picked them. But at the same time, in the back of my head, I know it's the right play because for the value, number 1. For 2, I know their defense is going to give me. And number 3, Cade can only be better than what he was last year. That shit was rough last year on offense to watch, y'all. Yep. Whether it was his bad decisions, whether it was Shipley fumbling the ball, whether it was just bad all around play calling, it was rough.
Freaking wide receivers getting hurt every other week.
Right. Yeah. But anyways, guys, thanks for joining the show. Like, comment, subscribe, follow us on Instagram at Rico's Locks, at BK_picks.
Yes, sir.
Check into the next episode, and thanks for showing out. Y'all like and comment. Have a good one. Appreciate it.
Catch you next time.